Hello everyone, I am the Canadian Gaming Penguin. With the most recent patch to Final Fantasy XIV, patch 5.5, it brought a new event to the Firmament, Fêtes. As the patch 5.5 note states, Fêtes are large-scale games held at regular intervals to celebrate the completion of the Firmament. During an event period, several feats are held in succession and offer rewards to participants. The only requirement to participate in the fête is to be any Disciple of Hand or Land. That is, apart from needing to progress in the main scenario quest to be able to access the Firmament in the first place. The fêtes are held 12 times over the course of a 24-hour period, with one every 2 hours. After the Skyrise Celebration is complete, there will be a 2-day rest period. That is, 2 days real time. By traveling to the Firmament, you will be able to see when the next Fête event period will occur, that is, when the next Skyrise Celebration will begin. If the Skyrise Celebration is currently taking place, it will tell you which of the 12 Fête periods it is at and when the next Fête will begin. By participating in a Fête, players who earn a sufficient rating will receive a Fête Present. The Fête Present contains one of any numerous prizes such as mounts, housing decorations, feat tokens to be exchanged for rewards, etc. To exchange the Fête tokens for prizes, speak to Inai, or any, in the Firmament. Note, Fête Presents can only be opened in towns or revealed areas. There are 5 Fêtes in succession, and the approximate time period for all of them to be completed is 30 minutes. The location of the Fêtes will occur in 3 different locations found throughout the Firmament. Traversing between these locations is part of the Skyrise Celebration, with some NPC mascots helping lead the way. I was only able to participate in the Skyrise Celebration once thus far, and thus I was only able to glean from my participation at that time that the highest amount of Fête Presents that can be obtained from a single Fête is 2. Thus, with the 5 Fêtes per Fête period of the Skyrise Celebration, it is possible to attain 10 Fête Presents each Fête period, provided that one has earned a sufficient rating in all 5 of the Fêtes. Now that I've explained the basic information about Fêtes, how do they work? Before the Fête period begins, there are announcement messages that will inform players that it is about to begin. Thus, it draws the attention to the Bright Ballad's passage where the first Fête, a twist of fate, will begin. Throughout the Fête period, there will continue to be announcement messages to inform players of what to do during a Fête, and also to inform them where to go after the first 4 Fêtes are completed. The first Fête, a twist of fate, introduces the 3 NPC mascots that will lead players throughout the Skyrise Celebration. The first of whom is named Mighty Moogle, who is in charge of the Made of Softer Stuff Fête. Naturally, Mighty Moogle is dressed in Moogle attire Kupo. The second mascot is named Chirpy Chocobo, and is in charge of the Shear-a-Yak Fête. Much like the Mighty Moogle being in Moogle attire, Kupo, this Chirpy Chocobo is in Chocobo attire. The third mascot is named Perky Piggy and is in charge of the Toy Hunter Fête. This cheerful swine is of course in Piggy attire. After the introduction of these 3 mascots, the first Fête actually begins. The Fête itself is similar to the Time of My Life gate that used to be in the Manderville Gold Saucer, only instead of a dance-off, you're directed to mimic the mascots in their actions. The mascots will first proceed to perform their actions in order, and then continue in a random order. This is an easy enough process to follow along as you make sure to select the correct mascot to perform the correct action. So that is my tip. Make sure you're able to select the mascot. Fortunately, they are on raised platforms that players cannot jump up on, so it should be easy enough for all players to select them. Once the Fête concludes, you are rewarded with Skybuilder scripts and Fête Presents. I'm not 100% sure, but I assume that if your Disciple of Hand or Disciple of Land class is lower than level 80, or whatever the level cap is at that time, then they will be rewarded with experience too. As all of my Disciple of Hand and Land classes are level 80, that is currently the level cap, I can't tell. At least not until I get an alt to the point of being able to check. As for the Gil aspect, I think it's just a template reward image that is being used, thus the Gil image is there too. Thus I don't believe Gil is rewarded, but I could be wrong. It's possible it's rewarded when you don't contribute enough to get Fête Presents, or something. Anyways, next up we move on to the next fate, which takes place on the Matic. If you don't know where to go, do not fret, as the NPC mascots will guide the way. Or you can just follow the long train of players, assuming there is one when you participate. The next fate is the Maid of Softer Stuff. The Maid of Softer Stuff fate. I wasn't sure what to expect, and my initial reaction was, what is this madness? As my eyes were blinded by dozens upon dozens of giant plushy Moogles. I'm not joking that I was startled by all the Moogles popping up. Alright, so this fate is simple enough in that one need only interact with a few different things. The first of which is the stuffed toy materials. If you're unable to see the boxes because of the other players, if you're on PC, pressing and holding the X key by default will temporarily hide all the player names, etc., to allow you to interact with an NPC, etc. The next item to interact with is the stuffed toy. And quite frankly, at that point I should have realized the Moogles were about to appear en masse. But I didn't. Partly because I was a little lost in what I needed to do for the fate, but it didn't take long to realize why all the Moogles popped up once I noticed the stuffed toy. Anyways, as you can see, the next bit is to head over to the Wains to place the stuffed toy. After that, repeat the process. I can't wait to try this fate as a Lalafell, especially if I try it in first-person view, because it's probably going to be a nightmare. It's here. After the Maid of Softer Stuff fate is complete, the next fate, Shear-a-Yak, takes place at the Bright Ballads Passage. So back there we go. Once again, if you don't know the directions, don't fret, as the NPC mascots will again lead the way, or again, the train of players will. As this fate, Shear-a-Yak, requires a special action, make sure you click on the Join Fate icon that is located in the duty list and is similar to the Fate Sync button when needing to sync to participate in fates. You may have already noticed this button at this point for the other fates. The special action will use an Ithermatic clipper on the Woolly Yak. Make sure the Woolly Yak is selected, and then 3 different Yak Fleece piles will appear. After picking up the 3 piles of Yak Fleece, head over to the Chirpy Chocobo found over here. Yeah, it took me a while to figure that out. Then repeat the process. Once the Shear-a-Yak fate is complete, the next fate, Toy Hunter, takes place in the Abacus. Once more, the NPC mascots will lead the way. The Toy Hunter fate requires the players to interact with different present boxes in order to find the lucky toy. One of 2 things will happen when interacting with these boxes. 1, you'll find the toy, like I did on my first attempt, or 2, something a little amusing. Temporarily too. When you find the lucky toy, speak with the Perky Piggy found here and hand over the special toy. Then repeat the process. Once the Toy Hunter fate is completed, it's time to head back to the Matic for the next and final fate, Presence of Mind. The Presence of Mind fate requires a bit of attention. The 3 mascots, Perky Piggy, Chirpy Chocobo, and Mighty Moogle will have different presents for different NPCs. Perky Piggy has presents for children, Chirpy Chocobo has presents for merchants, and Mighty Moogle has presents for artisans. The order of the mascots that request you to deliver the presents will vary, but will request no more than 2 each turn, which will become apparent shortly. In the case of my participation of this fate, my first task was from Perky Piggy. Thus, after interacting with a present, I, followed everyone else, which led me to variously spaced NPCs. Among them, I noticed there were merchants, artisans, and children. I thought to myself, since this is for children, I probably have to give it to one of the children. Sure enough, as I could see what the other players were doing, and they were in fact doing what I assumed, their actions confirmed my answer. Of course, I tested this theory out on my next present anyways. And next up was the presents for artisans, followed by the presents for merchants. Then it's just a matter of repeating the process. Once the presence of mind Fête is complete, the mascots and celebration guide give a few closing remarks for the Fête period in the Skyrise Celebration. Now that the Fêtes are completed, what are some of the rewards that one could get from the Fête Presents? As one opens the Fête Presents, one will be treated with a little animation. The Gamerscape page on the Fête Present has a list of all the different prizes that can be obtained from the Fête Presents. I won't read out the list myself, but if you're interested in seeing the list, I will have a link in the description below. My first 10 got me 5 Fête tokens, 2 mount whistles, 2 outdoor decorations, and another outdoor decoration of a different kind. Ini, who is the NPC for which we exchange our Skybuilder scripts, now also exchanges Fête tokens for various prizes. Based on what I saw of the list of items from Ini, it appears that the prizes that could be awarded from the Fête Presents were also items that can be obtained from exchanging the Fête tokens, or at least some of them. There's a lot more available from the Fête Presents than there is available from tokens. Anyways, that is it for Fêtes. As a recap, the Skyrise Celebration occurs once every 3 days. There are 12 different Fête periods throughout a 24-hour period, and then once the Skyrise Celebration ends, there will be approximately a 2-day break. On the 3rd day, the Skyrise Celebration will commence once again. To participate in Fêtes, one needs to be a Disciple of Hand or Land class. It is highly recommended to not change classes until after receiving the rewards from a complete Fête, and you will see various announcement messages saying this as well throughout the Fête period if you happen to participate in them. If one contributes enough to a Fête, one will be rewarded with Fête Presents. Fête Presents contain various prizes, including Fête tokens, which can be exchanged for prizes by speaking to Ini in the Firmament. I hope that you found this video useful, and if you did, please consider hitting that like button. Please also consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content like this. Anyways, that is it for this one. Thanks for watching!